Hello Natroners and welcome back to another episode of VFX with Natron. So, today we're gonna work on more treasure map. I know it's a long running thing, we've been working on it for a while, but we're working on bits and pieces that might be reusable. In fact, the thing we've been working on was actually this. And this is the whole goal of this was to mimic the water patterns that we would find around an island or land masses found in treasure maps, like say this one over here on the main screen. So as we can see, we have this particular treasure map has these lines around the islands and the land masses in general, and it's got all kinds of things on it. Anyhow, we're going to put that aside and hop over into Natron, and we are starting from where we left off last time, which was this. And this is just reloaded, and oh yes, and I had left. I was like, what's this over here? I don't remember. Oh yes, this is where we explored the lines, doing the vertical lines using this technique instead of the old one. But anyway, back to the main thing, which is this. We're going to where we left off. We have these wave patterns around the edge, and we created an erode smooth up here, just after our text node, that if we controlled it, if we change this in the size in a negative value, which is a dilate with erode smooth, as we know, it would increase the distance that these wave patterns would appear away from the text, creating the equivalent of a landmass. But the problem is that these aren't land. This is if we put this out to the actual distance we probably want to have this to read, where everything sort of merges together and turns this into like an island of some form, we're talking about -35-ish we want to get this out to, and that creates this kind of land massy shape around our text. But this is supposed to be the water pattern, not the actual landmass. And we want to be able to animate the water. So I think the first thing we need to do is actually try and do set up some animation. We added some distortion here already, and we created a masking system that masks it out so that we wind up with this nice white area around it. But let's see, we want to, oh yes, we need to do a couple other things. Let's see, this is going to be an animation, so we're going to actually duplicate this a second time. I'm going to actually pull this down here, and we're going to keep two of these. We're going to actually take this SE noise. This SE noise is generating the distortion. As we may remember from the last episode, this is creating the distortion that's just causing these waves to ripple a little bit. And ultimately, we're going to be controlling this a bit more. Depending on if we up the gain, we can change, you know, how jagged it becomes. And we can make it the pattern, whoops, very, very jagged water-wise, the pattern. And we can see now it gets really, really jaggedy and so forth, but we don't want it. We want it to be nice and soft and stuff. And also it's not looking as nice up there. I don't recommend ever putting it up to its full potential, but anyway, we'll put it back down to 1. So that creates this it sort of wavers this stuff. And actually, if we disable this, I think, let me just think, will that, I don't know if that would, no, I don't think. Well, you know what the heck, we'll disable it. It's probably going to offset it by, yeah, it's going to offset the whole thing. But we get to see that it basically, the original shape is sort of very rounded, whereas when we enable the SE noise to create the UV maps, it pushes it side to side. Anyhow, we're dwelling on this. What we're gonna do is copy this SE noise. Why? Because we want to create an animated version for the waves, and and this is going to be the actual thing that animates it. And then we want a second version of this for the actual landmass that represents the shoreline of our island that this exists in, and we want the shoreline to be on top of the water, so that the water bits can wave underneath it and wave away from it, and they never get onto it, because these lines should never go into, or over, I should say, the island. Whether they should go underneath the island, which is what they're going to do, that's a different story. But I mean, we could probably do something more complex if we wanted to, but I'm definitely not going there today. That's not the goal. That goes way beyond the scope of this. So we're going to put this over here like so. Now, because this is going to, I think we want to turn this one here into our landmass one. I'm going to turn, and we're going to actually make the outer one our, we're going to make this one out here our, the one for the water. So I'm going to actually take this, which is the distortion for the water, and I'm going to have it go down like that. And I'm going to take this beyond just a little bit. And this is going to be eventually be the island map, which is going to drive that one. And likewise, let me make sure I'm doing the right one. Let's see. Yes, both of these should also be, I believe, distorting that. Let me think for a minute. I want to make sure. No, actually, this one, I think the inner one. Right. We want this one here to actually be connected to our original, because that is affecting our text. Okay, so this is going to be a non-animated version, and this is going to be the animated version. So the animated version affects this area here, which this is the text that comes down off of our road. We'll look at it as it goes. It comes down, it gets dilated, it gets blurred a little bit, then it gets distorted, okay? And then that distortion, the same road goes in here, turns into this shape, gets merged with the distortion so that it starts distorting the waves, and then we quantize it, and then we blur it, and then we do that. I just want to make sure, hold on. Right, this is, and then this is where, oh, wait a minute. I take it back. This is the inside of the waves. This is the inside of the wave pattern right here. So this is where our waves end, not where I was just saying it is. This is where the waves end, and then this is where the texture map. So, okay, so this is where we're going to be weaving in all the stuff that makes the goodness happen, so to speak, the island. The island is all going to happen in between this node here, which is, this node puts the distorted version of it, the animated version is of the waves, the inner pattern. That has to move with it. Remember, that text has to distort with it. And then the outer section out here is going to be where it's going to connect into the inner one. All right, so, and this is our white, or should be, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's not our white. This is where the white is happening. The white is happening from that. Let me just make sure I've got everything where I think I should. All right, well, all right. We need to create an island, and we need to bring it from some bits. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to bring this in like so, just a little bit, so that the text from here can come down and go further down. We could use this one out here, but I think I just did it. I want that to remain the text, the overlay for the text. We're going to get rid of that dot there. That's just going to be the overlay for this text here, so that the text feeds in below it. We're going to branch at this point here for creating the actual island itself, the island shape. So how are we going to do that? Well, much like we did here with this iDistort version and going into a clamp node, we're going to actually create another clamp node. We can just duplicate this clamp node that we have here. I just did that. I selected it and hit Alt-C, and that created a duplicate, or a duplicate of it, which is here, as we can see, the dirty version, which is going with the waves, and this is the clean version. This is going to be our island. And for this, what we're going to do is we're going to, let me just see. We want to do two things. We need to, we're not going to, unlike, we're not going to, all right, when I made I had made a post on Facebook a while back, when I first demonstrated this gimmick node, where I had used it to create a nice outline, a nice clean outline. And while that's really useful when you get into very thick outlines, particularly when you're dealing with a road smooth or even with roads to create outlines, the problem is that you have to control it in ways, and I might do that in another video when talking about doing some outlining. But we're just talking about doing a very thin outline to this, so we're going to stick with the simple way, which is just using a couple of road smooths, like we've always done. It's simple, it's effective, and unless we make this really, really, really far away from from our text, or whatever, it should remain fairly clean in most situations. We're getting, it's not perfect, but we're getting pretty good results right here. We're getting stuff that looks like it could be a landmass of some form. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to hit period next after this clamp node. I just want to make sure this clamp node has a little bit of breathing room there. I'm going to keep it there. And at this point here, we're going to create two erode smooths. So we're going to hit tab. I'm going to type in erode smooth. Get an erode smooth. We're going to put it this way. And then we're going to take it and we're going to copy it. Actually, before we copy it, let's set up this erode smooth. Excuse me. For this particular erode smooth, we're going to set the value to, let's see, all right, we're going to set our exponent to 2, all right, because we want it to be fairly soft. This is going to do a bit of anti-aliasing on the edge. Remember, this is very, very jagged right now. This is going to soften it a bit, and we're gonna just take it in. We're gonna go minus 1.2. All right. When we take it in 1.2, hopefully that will make it, I think, I am doing it. Oh, we didn't do the alpha channel. That's why. There we go. So if we turn off the alpha channel, we can see, there we go. And just, it goes out a little bit and it softens it a little bit. Is it a perfect anti-aliasing? No, but it's good enough for our needs. And let's see, we're gonna also, I think we want to do, when we duplicate this, we're gonna copy it, and we're gonna hit Alt-C to copy it. I'm gonna just go down here and change that from Road Smooth 4. I just want to make this a little smaller, make it a Road Smooth 5. There we go. We're gonna double click on this one, make sure we have the correct one selected, which is this one down here. Let's look at that one. And we're going to change it so it's going to have the same exponent level, but this time instead of being minus 1.2, we're going to make it positive 1.2, which should erode it in. And so what we're going to do is basically take the difference between these two, and that is going to form our landmass, or our island, so to speak. All right. So how are we going to, first of all, let's go back over here. And let's zoom out and fit this, and then we're going to hit 1 so that we can see our landmass. All right. So we're going to hit M to add a merge here. And we're going to put this erode smooth here into the mask input of this this merge node. All right. And then we're going to put, wait a minute, do we even need this? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'll run. Yes, yes. Because this is going to, I'm just mentally, I was thinking, do we need this? Because we've wiped out the white before. So the problem with this, what we're going to do right now, as I said, this is going to animate, and these, the background is going to animate. And so what's going to happen is the waves that currently our waves are going to go underneath the island area. So we actually need to, when they go under the island, they need to disappear under white. Basically, we don't want them to actually penetrate it. So what we need to do is put something solid in here that is white. This solid is black. So we're going to pull that solid down a little bit more to give us some room, working space. And actually, I can just copy this solid, and we're going to put that into the A input here. And right now that's not showing up because we don't have it set the alpha enabled. As soon as we enable the alpha, we wind up with black, which, as we know, is probably not what we want. But let me just make sure of this. I think we want, do we want that to be black? No, we want this first one to be white. So we're going to use this. In fact, we're going to reuse this black down here. We're going to put this like this, put this like this. All right, so this one here is going to be the white. So we're going to just take that up to 1. There we go. And that makes the inside of the island white. All right. And then for the outside of the island, which is going to, we're going to just merge over that again. I'm going to go merge. Except for this, we're going to take the, let me just think about this. Yes, we're going to keep that as the B. And then we're going to bring this down and put the erode smooth as the input to that. And this one we're going to make work off of black. So what we're going to do is just hold down Control and click it between our viewer node and the this merge node that we added. And then we're going to take the source from it. Wait a minute. Am I right? I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's incorrect. Didn't want to do that. I want to take the A input from our merge node. Let's see, zoom in here a little bit so it's easier to see. The A input, we're going to connect it up to our solid here. And then we're going to hold Control, click and drag that out like that. So we can see here that the solid's going up and then feeding into the A input of this, which puts it there. And now what we want to do is, I want to make sure, oh yes, and we need to make this so that it is, we want to make it so that this merge node, we want to enable the A channel over it, like so. Now this is not doing what I was thinking it was doing. I am doing this wrong. I skipped it. Hold on, hold the phone. I've poked it up in reverse. I have one more. I connected it to thinking it was this merge node up here because I did it differently this last time. This merge node is where the white was going into. We don't need it. This is wrong. We've got these reversed. This is going to go to black. So this black is going to go up here. So this is the black. Goes into this input right here. And then this goes into our white, like so. All right, so black goes into this input, so the wider of the two, and then this is our white, and lo and behold, we wind up with an outline. Actually, we can pull that in like right like that, and it looks even cleaner. There we go. I don't like it when our pipes overlap one another unnecessarily if there's room for them. So there we go. Now we can see that the waves are indeed going behind our island, which has doesn't have distortion on it at this point. Now, we don't want our island to be undistorted. We do want to have distortion on our island. So we're going to want to put, let me just make sure. Yes, we want to have a distortion node in here, another one, very similar to these others. In fact, it's going to be identical to this one here, except for instead of being driven by the animatable version of it, we're going to, in fact, you know what? I'm going to just clone this. I believe I can just clone that. Let me just double check something. Are they the same values? Yes, they are. So I'm going to just take this. I'm going to select that one, and I'm just going to hit Alt-C to copy it, and that copies this clone. So they're both fed by this one. And we're going to set the source. Let's break this apart right here. Let's select that. I'm going to connect this up to the original source, which we don't have a UV map going into this right now, into this IDSort. It's just got the source, which is coming from our road smooth up here. So let's just look. So we have this here. Focus on it. Zoom in. So we have this going into the road smooth, but we don't have our UV distortion going in yet. So what we need to do is take our non-animatable version, which is this right here. This is going to be our UV map. And so we're going to hit a dot to create a... Oops, where did that go? I thought I hit... What did I hit something that I don't... What did I hit? I thought I hit a dot, but I... Uh-oh. That was weird. I thought I hit dot, but I must have hit something else. I don't know what I hit. I hope it didn't. I'll have to review this. Wait a minute. Oh, it was down here. It was on the solid. I had the solid selected as opposed to... All right, so it added a dot node to the solid. We wanted to select... Sorry, we wanted to select this SE noise up here before we hit dot. Make sure you do that. That's where the problem was. And create a dot there. I'm going to bring this down. Oops, I just disconnected it. We want to bring this down to about here. And we're going to bring it in, and we're going to connect the UV from this iDistort. We're going to take that, and we're going to connect it up to there. And then let's view that and just see what that did. All right, so we're going to disable the distortion, and then we're going to enable the distortion. And we can see that it just makes it waver a bit, right? It's making it look pretty much the same as this one up here. But it will make sense why we're doing this very, very shortly, because we haven't actually done the animation. I just want to get the clean island made first. All right, so this feeds into the island and goes down, and then what we're going to wind up down here is we see that our island, whoops, our island, which should be, wait a minute, where'd our island go? Oh, this is not connected up. That's why. Our clamp, make sure that we connect our clamp up to the distortion. And so now our island is distorted just like our text. So watch what happens. If we disable it, it smooths out. If we enable it, we see the island, which is the double thick line. It just deforms, and so it matches the coastline. All right, and so that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to make this so it looks like the curves of the shoreline, so that when the water goes away, it sort of looks like it matches the coastline. Of course, it's going to when it animates, it's going to change from this point, but at this we're not animating it quite yet. That's going to be one of the next things, and then we have, of course, our text underneath it. And you will notice that this does create some funny little outlets. It doesn't really matter. These things, I just think, I'll call these flavor bits. This is just an artifact from the way that particular this gimmick node produces these little artifacts. I just think they add a little bit of character to the thing. If you have a problem with it, well then maybe this isn't the way you want to do it. Maybe you want to go through a little more complex way of constructing this and doing this with the road smooths instead, but that will be significantly there would be more to it. So anyway, I'm perfectly happy with this. I think it looks good, and we wind up with these bibbles and bobbles based off of how things are, and they'll change. And we wind up with something, and we get distortion. And the beautiful part about this is that now, because this distortion for the island's edge, or the landmass, which is underneath, is here, we can. I'm just thinking about something. I want to make sure. There is we have a small problem. I think, all right, so last week, okay. So last week when we were working on this, I'm just realizing there's an extra ring in here, of eroded rings. I don't think my original one. Well, this is up to you. You can decide. You know what? It doesn't bother me too much. It's a little close to the landmass, but we actually have an extra ring in here. On my original one, we didn't have this this ring here. We had 2 rings, and then it started breaking up as it went out. And I'm looking at this, and now we have 3 rings, which means we're definitely going to wind up with it deforming through it. But that's okay. I actually really I think I actually like that better than my original one. I really do. I think I like that better. It looks more natural in a lot of ways. All right, we're gonna keep it. We're not gonna. I'm not gonna call it. We're gonna call it a pleasant experience, or pleasant change in the whole way this thing works. All right. So right. Where was I? Oh, yes, we're going to animate at this point. It's time to make the waves move in and out. Now, this is going to be tricky to do, because normally when I start animating stuff that's as complex as this, the best way to handle it is to take it and drop the resolution of it. But the problem is that it's very, very hard. This node does not like it when we, well, all right, let's see how it looks. See how it's broken up? We lose everything. Basically, the gimmick node becomes almost useless to us at this point. It's impossible to really tell what's going on here. But you know what? Maybe we can keep it out to, I don't know. I think we're going to try and muscle our way through. And so that means we have to optimize things. And honestly, optimizing things is actually a good thing. One of the things is that we're going to optimize is because the SE noise over here, this first SE noise, the non-animated one, is going to only need to be rendered. Basically, the island is only going to be distorted on the very first frame. After that, every frame after that should remain the same, unless we were to change it in some way. So we don't really need to. I'm just actually thinking about this. I'm just thinking about where do we need to. You know what? I think I can make this even more efficient than what I had in mind. I'm going to be doing a little bit more. We're going to pull this down a bit more, just to organize this a little bit. And the reason is that I want to put 2 additional nodes in here. And I just want to get this all snapped so it's nice and pretty. Snap that, snap that, snap that. All right, there we go. Should be good. Should be good. All right. What we're gonna do is off of this clamp node here. What we're going to do, do I want to do it before the clamp? Yeah, we're going to do it before the clamp. I'm not going to try and do it after the two road smooths because we've merged it. And we need to do it. Basically, I want to take as far down this chain where it can be isolated as possible so that when these nodes over here call this, it only has to traverse back through our buffer of the image so far back. And so what we're going to do is create a dynamically, this is going to change over time, but what we're going to do is we're going to, let's see, debating if this is, well, we're going to try this. We're going to do a disk cache, and you'll see that the disk cache always goes off. We select this clamp node, type in disk cache, and we're going to set it to manual frame. We're going to set it from 1 frame to 1 frame, and then we're going to put that here like so. And then below that, this is a little tight. We're running out of space. This might, we may have to spread this out a little bit more. It's a little claustrophobic in there. We're going to put in frame hold. And we're going to take that frame hold, connect it up there like so. And yeah, we just ran out of room. So we're going to just pull this all down a bit more. We're going to call it good enough. I'm not going to rearrange that again. I'll rearrange it before I give it to you guys. But we'll just spread this out just a smidge more so the flows is just a little easier to read. All right, so why are we doing this frame hold here? We're going to put the frame hold, we're going to set it to frame 1. And we're going to tell it, so after frame 1, it's going to increment by 0. Why are we doing this? Basically, what we're doing is at this point, we want to say, once this is disk cached for frame 1, we don't want to have to render anything past this. At this point, when these go to requested, it's going to just go back to this frame hold and say, oh, there's a disk cache right behind me. I don't have to go back up and re-render the text node with this road smooth, and I don't have to do this I distort here, and I don't have to do this SE noise, because it's all the same. It remains the same from frame 1 onward. The only time that changes is if we change this SE noise. But if we change that SE noise, we're going to change it on frame 1. So it's going to have to rebuild that disk cache. So we might as well. It's going to apply to all frames. Of course, this could mean that I'm not positive that if we're further ahead in time, that it may not rebuild it on the first frame when we're further up. I don't know. I think it should. It may cache the old frame, in other words. We'll just be aware that that might be a problem. If it is, just know that you have to go back to frame 1, rebuild frame 1, have it redraw frame 1 with the new parameters, and then you can move through time and it will rebuild properly. Anyhow, we're not changing that at this point. If that becomes a problem, we'll deal with it. Let's zoom. Let's take a look. So here's our SE noise. This is the one we're going to be animating. So what are we going to do to animate this? All right. Let me pull up my animation. So we can't cache the animated frames. And by the way, if that does, actually, I know that's not a problem. I know that's not a problem because of how I have it built in my other one. It works fine. So this should work just as dandy. All right. The way we're going to do it is we're going to go into our Z0 here, and we're going to set an expression here. Because this is just the easiest way. And I'm going to get the expression, which is basically all we're going to do. I'm copying it. So you know, our Z0 here is 0.025, and you probably wondered why the heck did he put a 0.025 on both of these SE-EXPR, excuse me, not SE-EXPR, SE noise nodes, because we didn't animate it at that point. The reason is that by putting the Z0 here, it just ensures that both of these are exactly at the same point in the future when dealing with it. We want the Z0. Remember, the Z0 is the position of this noise. And I want on frame 1 it to be whatever it is. I want it to be the same on both. And so what we're going to be doing here for this expression is for the Z0, we're going to right click and we're just going to put in frame times 0.025, which is the value we just had in there before. And so now every frame, it's going to multiply that times 0.025. So on frame 1, it's 0.025. On frame 2, it's 0.05, then 0.075, etc., so on and so forth. And that will make this animate over time. All right. And so that is going to, let's just take a look. We can view this at a lower resolution, so we'll do that. Let's in fact, we can drop it quite a bit and still get a good sense of what's going on here. So we're going to hit play, and you can see this is what it's going to do. It's just going to animate the pattern in this sort of general sense, and we'll get this sort of organic movement that's going to happen. And this is going to be what drives our eye distort node. All right, the distortion in our eye distort. And that is going to be our waves for the time being. That's all it's going to be. And so when we go over here, let's take a look at what our eye distort is. Let's see if we can, you know what, we might drop this back down to say 4. We might be able to get at least a sense of it here. You know what, I'm going to do it after the clamp node so we can see it a little bit cleaner. It's not perfectly clear, but we might be able to get this at a reasonable, oh yeah, that's actually, that does not seem to be... Oh, it's the wrong eye distort. That's why. Oop. Here we go. This is the eye distort that we want. Boop. Back to the beginning. Was looking at the wrong one. There we go. Oh, we wanted to look at the clamp. There we go. So we can see it. So we can see that it's clamping here and it's moving it around, and things are moving in and out very rapidly, and yeah, that's so all it's going to do is it's going to make it all sort of wobble and wave. And let's turn that off and we'll look at it on the final result. Actually down here, see if we can get this to render at least at a decent pace. And we'll try and animate this. All right, so here we go. Ready? Hold your breath, folks. You know what? I think I'm going to do... I know what we can do. We're going to use a regional. We're going to define a small region. So this little region here will allow us to draw a box. Okay? We draw a box, and that little box is what's going to get rendered for outputting this. We're just going to look at the top of this T for the time being, so that we can get nice and close and see that at full resolution, so it's not dropping it, rendering the entire thing. And hopefully this will, again, speed things up a little bit. Maybe we'll get faster distortion results. It's going a little bit faster. It's not caching it properly, however. Uh-oh. I wanted it to cache it. Oh, no, it is it says it's caching it. Let's see what we're getting. This might take a little bit. So, you know, we can talk about... So, ultimately, what we're going to do is take this entire thing that we've made here. All right. First of all, let's step back for a second. No. We're going to turn this into a plugin, ultimately. Why? Because, well, it would be nice if we could take anything, not just text, but anything like a roto or an image map of something. If you've find an island of, say, Hawaii, and you wanted to turn it into a pirate map of Hawaii, well, all you should be able to do is get a topographic map and sort of turn it into a black and white, you know, image. If it's, you got to be just, you know, play with the contrast, but you got blue and you're going to have a landmass color, which is probably going to be green. That's plenty to create an isolation mask based off of previous episodes worth of information. So the key thing that we want to do is we want to do this by we want to do this we want this to be able to be fed whatever we want it to be fed. And we want to be able to turn on, if we're feeding it something as simple as rotor, we want it to be able to generate craggly, landscape off of something simple, very much in the same way that the PBCloudGen that we made a while back did. It created all these little nerdy curly bits for the edge of the cloud, even though we gave it a very simple shape. That way we could keep the rotos simple, and that way you can focus. If you decide to animate the rotos, you can animate them simply, and then you wind up with really organic looking cloud, hopefully organic looking cloud movements. With this, what we want to be able to do is feed it in something and wind up with something that hopefully looks like a craggly landmass coming out of it, even if we feed it something, simple and clean. And then have water that starts off in a very similar way. All right, we've animated this for long enough that we should get we should be able to get a sense of what this is generally going to look like. And there we go. We can see, it's not super duper long, but we can see that it's indeed the water's moving in and out, and it just gives it a very watery kind of effect. And I really do, I have to say, I'm glad that we did this, got a slightly different result than what I got on my original one, because I actually like this extra line here. It looks better. I think this is a better looking result, which means that this is going to be the one that I ultimately use when we make the final version. I did do this ever so slightly different than the other one. All right. So, I think, believe it or not, we have gotten through what today's topic was going to be. Holy smokes. And we did it in under an hour? Unheard of. Unheard of. All right. So let's pull this back to full size. Let's zoom in and turn this off. And I'm going to save. I'll save this as text engraved. I'll rename it as the project when it's uploaded. But let's do new project version so that this is saved. Looks like we might have a glitch over here on the right hand side. I don't want glitches in my project files. You know what? We're going to just fix that. I'm going to disconnect that. I think that might... There we go. Yep. And we'll connect it back up. And lo and behold, hopefully that fixes everything. Yes, there we go. All right. So there we go. That is how it will work, and that's exactly how we do it. We create this, and so the beauty of this is that now we can we have this control. This road smooth here controls how big our island is. Basically, we can make it bigger, make it or smaller. I took it in the wrong direction. I made it 25. Well, we'll bring it down to 25. So there we go. We've made the island smaller. And as we can see, we get these perfect, water swirls around here. It's a little wonky in here around that area, but that's not a problem. And as you can see, it did update it did refresh everything. So we don't have a problem. That makes that'll make this whole thing render much quicker. All right, and so we can take this up even further. We could, no, wrong way. I wanted to take it on the opposite direction, make this even bigger. We had to wait for it to redraw. So we go from treasure map like that to there we go. There we go. We've made a big treasure map. And so here's the thing. So we can now, one of the cool parts about this, let me just look at one thing here. There's only one aspect of this that is slightly different, I think. I am thinking we may, all right, so um, oh, no. It's this. Okay, never mind. Oh, no. Well, good. I thought I was going to need to do something else. One of the things I wanted to point out that's really advantageous about this technique as well is if we look at this SE noise here, we talked about the craggliness. We don't want the cragglies in the water. We want the cragglies on the land. And so the nice thing about this whole thing is by separating these two SE noises, what we can do, this one here is going to be the one that, remember, controls the island, and this one over here controls the water. So we can leave the water one not craggly, and then add craggles to the SE noise over here by simply just upping the gain level, or increasing the craggles that exist there by just increasing this gain density up to, we can even take it all the way up to 1. We'll just take it back up to 1, and then as you can see, that added a lot of extra craggles to it. It's not, oh, there we go. I was like, that didn't look quite as craggly. There we go. Now we've got something that's super duper craggly. It still conforms to the overall shape, but it winds up with this little bit. And yeah, I like it. I think it looks good. It makes it look like, it really does give it that whole treasure island kind of feel to it, where you've got this map. Now, I will say that I don't think that the frequency of this particular one is high and is detailed enough. I might take the octaves up to for the outer craggle, for the island up, if we wanted to say 4. See what that does. Oh, that's just too much. But we can also reduce the gain on that down to, say, 0.5. And so there we go. That gets us a much more land-like shape to it without, adding a whole heck of a lot to it. And I think that looks really good. So there we go. Oh, we're getting a refresh error over there. That's not a problem though. Anyhow, so yeah, that is pretty much everything. We're gonna encapsulate this, and okay. I do wish to point out that we built this as a separate. I'll mention this in the when we were making the map, that we were going to build certain parts as separate modules, and the problem that happens when you do that is you wind up with overlapping names for nodes. And if we were to, you might say, oh, we've built this, all we got to do is select the entire thing, copy it, and paste it into our other project with the parchment, and then we can put this on top of the parchment, and we'd be good to go. Except for we wouldn't be good to go, because we're bound to have 2, for example, merge nodes that are called merge 1 or merge 2. And so when you paste it in, the problem is that Natron is not smart enough, cannot go through the pasted information and rename all the nodes dynamically. It doesn't do that. It can do it if you do a single node. It will find a node conflict, but if you do a group select, it just doesn't have it set up so that it can do that. So we have to what we have to do is we're going to I'm just going to let you know now that we're going to be isolating the scope of this, and I'll get into that in the next episode, where we're going to turn this into a new type, or into another we're going to turn this into a actually, I don't know if we need to do another episode on making a another plugin, but if people are interested, we could either that, or I can turn this into a plugin over the next week. I tell you what, people on Facebook, leave a comment in the comments whether you want this to be turned into a plugin again, and see how I do it. And if so, then the next week's episode will be that, or or converting that, or I will just take the end result of this, show you guys what I did to added to it to make it function. Because, oh yes, there is one other thing I did forget about this. We do need to ultimately clamp the output of this. You could put in a clamp node, that's an easy thing. Put a clamp node at the bottom so that the entire result of this does not, you know, all these, we've done a bunch of math in here. So we don't want that, any math potential that we did in here to leak through into our final map. Anyhow, so right, so we're gonna say that again, and yeah, so leave the comments. And today's goal, yes, well, today's goal was to make basically this, and of course that's it after it's been animated. You can see that we have the animated distortion lines on it. And right. Thanks for watching and keep on Natroning.